Thank you very much. I will briefly introduce myself. Carl already said that I happen to be his daughter, and that's very true. And on top of that, I hold a part-time position in Switzerland, where I'm the president of the Swiss Competition Authority. But my main job is a practicing attorney. I'm a business attorney in Switzerland. And we are, I believe, the first Swiss-Norwegian legal cooperation ever set up. We did this because we see a lot of potential in Norway. We have always had very close ties to this country, and we saw a lot of potential of also having a business here and operating as lawyers here in this country. And it is no coincidence that the first person that we hired to expand our team is a Norwegian law student who is sitting here, has done a fantastic job in helping us prepare with this press conference and study as well, Håvard Sanne Halvorsen. So we see a lot of potential here, and that also means we were very concerned when we learned of the wealth tax and its effect on business owners in Norway, and particularly on small business owners. Carl very rightly pointed out that many of the large business owners immediately took steps to leave Norway. So that shows very much a phenomenon that has been observed in many countries, that capital can be moved away, and despite how difficult you may want to make it, your country ultimately loses out, not just on the capital, but also on the know-how, on the jobs potentially that leave with these people. And we didn't just want to look in our analysis at things where we would see it critically from a legal perspective, but we also wanted to see whether there were mechanisms to address any alleged issues that the state was trying to fix with the wealth tax. And as Karl Baudenbacher mentioned, the challenge for us initially was that the state has not been forthcoming in explaining the reasons for this legal change. But as he also noted, from what we have read and seen so far, there seems to be a redistributive element in this. And we looked a little bit at the possibilities that modern economies have developed in addressing alleged unequal wealth and economic power balances. And we believe that there are two areas that are much more promising, both from the way that they are applied, but especially also because they have an international reach. It's very, very hard for companies, business owners to avoid that, and that would be first and foremost competition law, which is my own special field. Competition or antitrust law is an area of the law that has been around for over 130 years in the United States, for several decades on the European continent, very much tried and tested, and it provides a wide range of possibilities for a state to address a concentration or a potential concentration of economic wealth and power. And the benefit of competition law is multifold. On the one hand, it has tools that allow a state intervention before such a power accumulates. I mentioned, just as an example, merger control. Many of the business owners in here will have heard of that. You cannot just freely merge or buy companies. You will have to notify this with an authority. The authority will look at whether this leads to a concentration that is too strong potentially on the market. The mechanisms in this test are very objective. They are based on thresholds. They are non-discriminatory, and they are, again, tried and tested. They are also the same in almost every modern country through most OECD legal jurisdictions. There is a almost similar system in place, and that means that guarantees, contrary to the situation that we have here, a fair and equal treatment. Because nowadays you don't just compete in your area where you are or in your country. Many people compete internationally, both with competitors who come into the country or abroad. And the beauty of a legal system like competition law is it is the same everywhere. It applies the same way to everyone, and that creates a fair, level playing field for all companies. And a fair, level playing field is what businesses not just need, but also deserve. This is a question of fairness, that everybody has the same advantages or disadvantages given to them from a state level, and then from there on they can move forward and try to succeed. There are also mechanisms in place in competition law that allow ex post, so after an accumulation of power has already occurred, for authorities to intervene. There are possibilities to start investigations against companies who are seen to be abusing their dominant position, who have become too dominant. And in many jurisdictions, the consequences that companies face when they are seen to abuse this dominance are very considerable. They're very, very high fines that can be issued. In some jurisdictions, up to 10% of the EEA-wide turnover, or even global turnover, depending on the country. That's very, very sensitive fines, and in practice, companies all over the world respect these laws very strictly because they fear these fines. And again, that creates a level playing field on an international level. Going even further is a jurisdiction like the United States of America, but newly also in Germany, where the legislator has addressed the question or the unease that many feel with an accumulation of wealth and power with the big tech companies. And in the United States, there is now a lawsuit pending to break up parts of Google's ad services precisely for that reason. The German competition authority now, through the latest reform, has been given the power also to break apart companies should it find that there is too much concentration of power. And these procedures, they happen in a legal environment that can be challenged to the court with the same rules applicable everywhere. Again, a fair, level playing field, which is essential for the economy. Another area of the law which we think would be better placed to address this alleged concentration of wealth and power would be financial market law. I'm sure most of you know that when you start passing certain thresholds, when you acquire shares in a company, you need to notify this to a regulator. There's very strict rules. If you violate financial market law, you can face not just fines, but in the worst case, your licenses can be revoked, you can be stopped from doing business. And financial market law is also an area of the law that is very hard to circumvent, contrary to tax law, where, again, we've seen it's easy for certain business owners to leave a country and to avoid that. Financial market law is not one of these areas, and it has shown over decades to be a very effective tool to address this. And so this was, again, a very important part of our study to show what can we do if there is a concern about accumulation of wealth and power, how we would go about this in a fair and level playing field way. And I believe our study shows that, and we are very excited to be presenting our thoughts here today and hearing feedback from you so we can finalize this in the coming weeks and then hopefully take it forward to the benefit of the Carl said 98% small and medium-sized enterprises, but Lars Oskar just told me half an hour ago that it's actually 99%. 1% more or less might not make a difference, but it really shows that the small business owners are the backbone of the industry here, of the economy here. It's the same in Switzerland, by the way. The small 1 or 2 person business who fights every single day, who hires locals to work there, who pay taxes here, who, if the local sports club needs a donation for new t-shirts, goes out and does it because they support their community here, they live here, this is their country, and this is where they invest, and this is where they grow their business to everyone's benefit. And that is a great honor and pleasure to be here. And with those final words, I pass on to Mats Amdenes. Thank you.